Baldy, what's going on?
Zach, how are you guys, man? I'm doing good. Good to be with you.
Man, we are so pumped that football is back. Not as pumped with the way things shook out in week 1 in Seattle. And I want to start with Bo Nix, Baldy, because right after the game and then the next day when we talked to Sean Payton, he really deflected blame away from Bo Nix and pretty much put it on everyone else on the offensive side. Is that him protecting his rookie quarterback from just a mental side, or is there a lot of truth in that everyone else dropped the ball?
Well, I would say that Bo Nix, I mean, look, he tried to protect him all game long. I mean, almost every pass was under 5 yards. The deep shots he took to Cortland Sutton, outside of the one shot to Josh Reynolds right before the half that led to a field goal, I mean, he wasn't very good down the field. But look, it's a rookie, so he should do exactly what he did. He should deflect the criticism. You should put it on the offensive line. They didn't run the ball well. I thought the defensive line of Seattle outplayed the offensive line of Denver all game long, throughout much of the game anyways. And so I would deflect all the criticism too. The game plan was try to get as many completions as you can. Who had Devon leading this team with 8 catches? Nobody did. But, you know, that's what was there. That's what they did. And so they were in the game for much of it, you know, until the interceptions really took over. And those are tough throws. Julian Love and Tariq Woolen, I mean, he's never thrown a dart across the middle of the field to a guy that is as fast as Tariq Woolen. And, you know, when the throw wasn't terrible, Woolen runs a 4.2, and he showed it. And so other guys in this league have made that mistake. But I would say that what you're asking and what Sean said is what he should say. And you should defend your rookie quarterback.
When you look at how Bo played, you've obviously watched a lot more football than I have. Do those look like just standard rookie mistakes that can be cleaned up, or were there deeper issues there that you saw?
Well, I mean, he wasn't as accurate as we saw him in the preseason by far. You know, I mean, Seattle, it's a new defense. There's nothing on the tape. You can go back and watch Baltimore if you want to try and see what they were going to do. They play these matchup zones. They don't really reveal what they're doing to the snap. I mean, it's nothing like he's really seen before. So it's tough. So he wasn't accurate. I mean, every throw to Cortland Sutton was either sailed over his head or was behind him, or it was late. And so, you know, it was just, you know, down the field, he struggled. But I think that those are things that I think are mechanics. I think those are things that you work on. I don't think that's going to be a persistent problem going forward.
You know, Baldy, you talked about that Seahawks defensive line, and I think they played phenomenal. And once again this week, the Broncos are going up against a very good D-line, outside linebackers, and inside linebackers. How do the Broncos kind of shore up this run game to be much better than they were last week?
I mean, it's really as a group, they got to play better as a group. The running game always you can scheme all the runs you want, and you can do that. But ultimately, you have to move the line of scrimmage. You got to get push at the point of attack. And I don't care if it's Javonte or Jaleel, it doesn't matter. It starts with getting movement. And so that's what I would concentrate on. I would go back, 9-on-7 drills, inside drills during the week, put the pads on. Like, you've got to get movement, and that's where it starts. And that's on, you know, Quinn didn't play great, but nobody did. I mean, I think up front, that's where it's got to start. It's got to start with just the basic fundamentals, combo blocks, walking guys off the line of scrimmage, playing with a good pad level. I think everybody benefits like that.
Speaking of starting, Baldy, if you're Vance Joseph, who do you want to face this week? Do you want to face Russell Wilson, or do you want to face Justin Fields if you got to choose?
I would say Russell. I mean, he's played very little football. We don't know how healthy he is. I think you're going to see Justin. I mean, I think it's just subterfuge at this point with what Mike Tomlin is saying. But, you know, you're going to see Justin Fields. And so, but if you're asking me who I would want to face, it'd be Russell. He hasn't played well in the preseason. He's missed a lot of camp. You know, that was a late scratch the other day. I think they kind of knew it might happen. And you don't know how healthy he is. So you want to see how healthy he is. The best part of their whole offense, honestly, was their center. Zach Frazier was the only watchable part. One catch, you know, on the outside, by Pickens. But other than that, like the center was the best part of their whole offense. So I would think that you want to face Russell right now.
When we were talking about it, we basically just decided you want to man up on the receivers, you just put Pat on Pickens, and then load the box. Like, it feels like this week it should be a pretty simple game plan going up a Steelers team that really doesn't feel like it's much of a threat in the passing game.
They're not a threat. They're not a threat right now. I mean, they had a deal done. If you listen to Jay Glazer last Sunday, I'm sure you did. I mean, they had the deal done, Brandon Ayuk to Pittsburgh. They need him in the worst way. Van Jefferson is their second receiver. I don't know. I mean, Freiermuth's their tight end. Not really thrown to those guys. Maybe Jaylen Warren will be healthier and have a bigger role. Maybe Cordero Patterson will have a bigger role. But, the balls down the field are going to Pickens. And so I would do exactly what Denver did this weekend. I would put Surtain on Pickens. And, I would live with that matchup. I mean, DK caught a couple passes against him. Couldn't get the 2-point conversion against him. I'd put Surtain on him, and I would just, load up the box. That's how I would play it, just the way you described.
Baldy, we got to talk about that great outside linebacker that the Steelers have, TJ Watt. How do the Broncos kind of limit him? I remember playing like Travis Kelce back in the days. Like, you can't stop him. He's going to get his catches, but if you just tackle the catch and you hold him and try to not let him get yak yards, you kind of like minimize what he can do. How do the Broncos just minimize TJ Watt?
Well, I mean, Raheem Morris came out and said, we have to take him out. We have to have a game plan to take him out. Well, they tried. It was ridiculous what they did. I mean, they tried to chip. The TJ is going to get his. Like, he's just that good. And so you have to, if you look at, for example, if you look at the Cowboys last week, they got a rookie tackle against Myles Garrett. Like, that was a great game plan. Myles Garrett got one sack and a forced fumble. But other than that, he didn't really affect the game that much because of the game plan. They bootlegged away from him. They chipped him. They had short passing game. Like, you've got to build your game plan around what TJ can do. Now, as much as TJ can wreck it, Alex Highsmith is a hell of a player on the other side. And this second-year player, Nick Herbig, like, he's going to rotate in there. Like, all these kids from Wisconsin, like, they all can play. And so, and that's where Herbig's from. So, and he's attached himself to TJ. So he's learned a lot of things from him. It's a talented group, but you cannot, you have to literally game plan play to play against TJ, because on any given play, he can change the game.
Baldy's breakdowns, you were blown away by how good the Broncos defense played in the first half, but then they gave up 150 yards in the third quarter. What changed from the first half to the second half with the defense, and how do they prevent that in the coming weeks?
I got my chart from the breakdown right here. I mean, Kenneth Walker had 7 carries for 19 yards in the first half. They abused the right tackle, whether it was Forsythe, who came in for the starter. They abused the right tackle, Cooper, like they just ran right over him. Seattle blocked much better in the second half. I mean, I'm sure that was the speech at halftime from the new offense coordinator, new offensive line coach. Like, it's up to us. And they did. And Kenneth Walker, not that much different than some great backs in this league. He's got great balance, and he's got great contact balance and vision. They blocked him up just a lot better in the second half. And so I think that was the difference. He ran 12 carries for 84 yards in the second half, including the touchdown. He had a second touchdown that got called back because of a hold. They got to get off blocks better than they did in that second half.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm curious what you thought of the Broncos offensive line, though, because I think when you look at ESPN's numbers, for example, they have the run block win rate as the 6th best in the NFL, but you don't really see the production there. They have the pass block win rate as 20th, a little below average, but Bo Nix was constantly under duress. Is this something that can come around quickly? Like, can they actually find a way to open up lanes against the Steelers front, or do you kind of just have to accept that they kind of are what they are?
Well, I wouldn't back down from the challenge. Cam Hayward is one hell of a player. Larry Ogunjobi, I mean, they're good across the board. And they've got a rookie linebacker in Peyton Wilson that can run like the wind. And he rotates in there with some other guys. But this is a very stout defense. But what you have to do is, like, for example, when I played with the Cowboys and we'd go up against the 85 Bears defense, we knew we'd have a lot of runs that went for 0 and 1 and -2. We knew that. But what you wanted was to stay with it because you're going to hit one. You're going to split one. You got to stay with it. You can't back down from it. And you can't just go to what they did the other day and just a short passing game because you're going to sit on that stuff too, especially if you don't challenge them deep. So you can't back down. I mean, TJ wants to ruin the game, get to the quarterback, make him play the run. Find runs that work. There's always one or two that you can pop, and you got to stay with it. You cannot just go there and go. You can't put it in Bo Nix's hands and go win the game against this defense. Like Atlanta couldn't do that. Kirk Cousins couldn't do that. And Kirk Cousins has been around for a dozen years. He couldn't do it on Sunday. So you've got to put it on the offensive line, and you got to find Javonte and Jaleel and the rookie. I mean, the best one they had all day was the rookie, and then he fumbled. Julian Love knocked it out of his hands, but they got to split there. They got to split inside. They opened it. They hit it. He hit it just right. You just don't try to jump over the free safety because that's what's going to happen to you.
Baldy, I mean, saying along the exact same lines that you were talking about right before you joined us, we pretty much said this is going to be like a 1960s slugfest here. Is it kind of the first one to 15 wins?
Yeah, I think so. I think it might be just that. Because I think, I thought Denver had their third safety in that first half. Like, I don't know how they get – like, I don't understand the ruling on it, but I thought they had three. Like, look, field position is a lot of things. It helped the Broncos all day long. You could play the same type of game. Like, if you look at Harbaugh and the Chargers, like that formula of playing great defense, punting, field goals, like don't turn the ball over, like that can win you football games. And what you're describing here, Zach, is, look, it might be 15-13. It might be 13-12. Be willing to play that game. You got a rookie quarterback. You don't want him to throw 2 interceptions. Keep building a game plan to build his confidence, to get completions, to try and convert third downs to stay on the field. It's going to be tight. I don't believe this Pittsburgh offense is not good. And Justin Fields can make splash plays because he's a great runner. He's a great athlete. You can't take your eyes off him. But they weren't very good around him on Sunday. And I don't expect that to change much because I think Denver's defense is solid. So I think right now, be willing to play that type of game.
You're the opposite of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. You're the best. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, man. Good luck with Sunday.
Looking forward to seeing you next week to hopefully break down a Broncos win that we're talking about. Thanks, Baldy.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was quite a show. We got tons of information, broke down everything you need to know about this game, and we're going to be dishing out our predictions tomorrow. Is it a 1st to 20 race? Is it a 1st to 15? Is it a 1st to 10?
Does anybody score?
3-0?
Yeah.
We'll be breaking it down tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune back in with us tomorrow at 10 a.m. And as Todd said, I hope you're humping it today. Happy hump day. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.